your arguments in number 18, Roe against Wade. Mrs. Weddington, you may proceed whenever you're ready.
Mr. Chief Justice, and may it please the court.
It was a fantastic win for women in the Supreme Court.
She filed suit on behalf of herself and all those women who have in the past, at that present time, or in the future, would seek termination of a pregnancy.
I had just turned 18 when I got pregnant. He was in medical school. I certainly wanted to finish college.
I met Steve when I was in my senior year. We were both virgins and we lost our virginity after prom. 3 weeks later, I became pregnant.
I was a career lawyer and I prided myself on being the professional aunt. I never expected to have children. I met my now husband, and in about 3 months' time we found ourselves pregnant.
The responsibility of raising a child is a most serious one, and the time and emotional investment that must be made cannot be denied. So a pregnancy to a woman is perhaps one of the most determinative aspects of her life.
You should be able to search your heart and say, either I'm equipped or I'm not equipped to be a parent. It's financial, it's emotional, it's your support network, it's your skill level, it's your own history and patterns that you have in your history, your family history. That should be a choice everybody has to make for themselves.
Steve wanted to get married and live happily ever after, and I didn't think that would work. I mean, we were so young.
In the absence of legal, medically safe abortions, women often result to the illegal abortions, which certainly carry risks of death, all the side effects such as severe infection, permanent sterility, all the complications that result.
The experience that I had stayed with me all these years, and that was of a young woman that came in complaining of abdominal pain, and she had a red rubber catheter coiled up inside her abdomen. And the obvious explanation was she tried to abort herself.
I remember telling my mother that I thought I was pregnant, so she took me to the gynecologist, and so I told him that I wanted to have an abortion, and could he help me? Oh, he was horrified.
And I guess the thing that upset me the most was the attitude of the older physicians towards this woman. There was a lot of accusation and a lot of, we're going to report you to the police, that sort of thing, because this was 1970.
I very fortunately had a very good healthcare provider who talked with me about options, and abortion was an option. It was not a hidden option. It was not something I felt was discouraged or dissuaded. And I did a lot of soul searching, and it ended up that it was a decision that I made to continue with a pregnancy. And very fortunately, my husband agreed.
I think it's without question that pregnancy to a woman can completely disrupt her life. All of the problems of personal and family life for a woman are bound up in the problem of abortion.
He said there's a new law in California, and that's if the physical or mental health of the mother would be in danger, then you could get an abortion. So we were given the name of a psychiatrist in San Francisco, and my dad and I flew out there, and you had to jump through a lot of hoops to do it, and of course it cost a fortune back then.
And then you stayed overnight, and there were lots of other girls, college girls, and I was asleep, and all of a sudden I heard this commotion, and it was the police. And they were taking the doctor out in handcuffs. They rounded us all up. We were obviously, in really dire straits physically. At 2 o'clock in the morning, we were still sitting on a bench in the police station.
In these big old wards with 10 beds down one side and 10 beds down the other side, filled with young women, I would say 80 or 90% of them were there for complications of either self-induced or criminal abortions.
I'd read about this. There were botched abortions. People became infertile. And so I had to have a conversation with myself about the fact that, if I never get pregnant again, if I never have another opportunity to have a child, do I still not want to have this one under these circumstances? And I came to grips with that at 17.
I just remembered looking around and thinking, well, hell with this. You know, if no one else is here to do this, then maybe I'm it. And I just started shouting at the police and saying, you know, you have sick people here, and we need to go to a hospital. And they did. They took us all to a hospital, and it was sort of the beginning of my life of activism after that.
I look back on it and think that the abortion issue was the issue that made women aware that they were not able to make choices for themselves.
Because of the impact on the woman, this certainly is a matter which is of such fundamental and basic concern to the woman involved that she should be allowed to make the choice as to whether to continue or to terminate her pregnancy.
It certainly was an eye-opener to see that as I was becoming an adult, my major freedom, my right to my own body, was being taken away from me because my reproductive choice was someone else's business. It wasn't my business.
And the nurse told me, you don't have to worry, it's not a marked clinic. There's no way that anybody would know that this doctor performs abortions. That was the first time I thought, wow, you know, this is a right that women have had for 25, 26 years at the time that I was pregnant. And we still have to sneak around to exercise that right.
If Roe versus Wade should just be overturned in one fell swoop, we would have demonstrations in this country that would rival any that's ever been seen.
Not the church, not the state. Women must decide our fate.
Because it is now just an accepted fact of life.
One of the purposes of the Constitution was to guarantee to the individual the right to determine the course of their own lives.
I had pretty much decided I just wasn't going to get pregnant. But eventually, I decided that I would. And I'm very, very glad I did. I love my son. But, you know, it took a long time to get to that point. And it's directly related to my abortion and what I had to go through and, you know, the feeling of that lack of control in my life.
To me, I think it's very important for us to tell our stories.
I can talk about this. I have a right to talk about this. I have a duty to talk about this so that other people don't think that this is nothing.
I feel that the connection that I have to women who lived in the pre-Roe generation is incredibly strong. And I hold those stories close to my heart because I know that wasn't so long ago. I want to make sure that those stories live on because I want to make sure that we never go back to living in a society where people need to seek out unsafe and illegal services.
Under the rights of persons to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, I think in as far as liberty is meaningful, that liberty to these women would mean liberty from being forced to continue the unwanted pregnancy.